from Bangladesh and also from some other South Asian countries. You are most welcome in first South Asian conference on unfolding emerging issues and this scenario. I am Mohammad Abdul Rahman, but my nickname is Rana. I am working in a non-government research organization, Center for People and Environment, which is a science policy integration-based research organization working in Bangladesh for the last 4 years. And yesterday we have passed our 4 years, and now we are on 5 years. We are working for the last 4 years to develop some climate resilient development prototypes, and also we are supporting national and international organizations in different climatic arena in terms of big data management, data science, and also some other issues. And our special focus on developing young scholars. For the last 4 years, we have worked in Bangladesh to develop some young scholars from Bangladesh. But from this year, we are trying to develop young scholars from South Asian countries as a community, as a society, as a family. So for this reason, we have planned to organize a conference, and our plan is to continue this conference. It is our first conference, new dimension in the South Asian context to develop climate resilient development, because South Asian countries are almost similar in terms of our culture, in terms of our ecology, in terms of our geography, and so on. So we have targeted to develop a platform considering the young and mid-career researchers from the South Asian countries. And main agenda of this conference is to develop a South Asian research hub containing the young and mid-career researchers from South Asian countries in the some of the thematic areas. We will discuss more. And obviously we will discuss 2 days with some thematic area, and these are our most important thematic area to develop the South Asian research hub. And there is our some other prominent discussion where they will discuss many more, and in the next 2 days we will discuss about these issues. From the discussion, we will develop some common agenda from South Asian Research Hub, and also we will try to develop the governance structure from this discussion. And then we will carry forward this South Asian Research Hub from the next year with some other issues. Thank you very much.
This slide I always show to my students. And this came from Emmanuel Rodway. He is now 94 years old, and French history. He is not a climatologist. But most of his life he worked on climate and peasantry, because they have enormous wealth of knowledge. And the main driving force of our food supply and economy. He said the climate is a function of time, it varies, it is subject to fluctuations, and it has a history. And for better science and decision making, we actually need a longer time frame of data and good quality data. And from the analysis of the data, then we can actually advise the policymakers and what to do. And in our South Asian region, and availability of data and access to data is a problem. I think with the aim of this South Asian Research Hub, and we'll be able to share data among the researchers and sending the analytical reports to the policymakers. And next one is also a history. First World Climate Conference. 1979, almost 35 years ago. So these are some of the bullet points actually I gathered from the report of the conference. And first, it identified the leading cause of global warming, the increased atmospheric concentration of carbon dioxide. And second, then it examined the possible impacts on many key economic sectors, like agriculture, fishing, forestry, hydrology, and urban planning. And today, if you look at if you go through the working group 2 report of the IPCC, you will see that actually more and more chapters added in each of the cycles of IPCC reports. IPCC publishes reports in 5 to 7 year cycle. And next two bullet points are very important for us, for the men. It highlighted international community's emerging perception of climate as a vital natural resource. But we are interfering on this natural resource. In this minute. 35 years ago, it was declared. And 35 years ago, it also urged governments to foresee and to prevent potential man-made changes in climate that might be adverse to well-being of humans. So the red line was set 35 years ago. What we did, we actually followed a path of procrastination. It took us until 2015 to arrive at the Paris Agreement. I think it's too late now, because we are actually at the boundary of 1.5 degrees Celsius. And the COP28 will discuss what would be the next steps to contain it within 1.5 degrees Celsius. But it looks like the trend has actually left the state. Now, our region is very much vulnerable to extremes. I will highlight some of the extreme weather events, mostly gathered from the IPCC's Tier 6. And first is that our ability to understand extremes. We are yet to understand completely the ability to detect possible influence of global warming on a specific event, and that is in the y-axis, and in the x-axis is how we understand the likely influence on event type of event. If you look at the bottom, those are very important, like severe convective storms, which is accompanied by your heavy rain and hails. And then wildfire. In recent days, wildfire has become very much significant extreme weather events around the world, especially in the Western Canada. And tropical cyclones are more frequent and stronger. And extreme snow and ice, we have still limited knowledge on this. We are pretty much good actually, like your extreme heat and extreme cold, but we have also knowledge of limitations on drought and extreme rainfall. And then you would ask me that then how do we actually proceed if we have such a limited knowledge, okay? Still we have to rely, most of the scenarios we use from the climate model. And one famous statistician once said that all models are wrong, but some are useful. And when I did my PhD, I had to work on 350 kilometers by 350 kilometers grid. Now we can get climate scenarios even up to 10 kilometers grid. 45 kilometers is very much common. I worked on the scenarios from the equilibrium model. We have now transient models. And then we have now regional climate models. And we know that climate models have limitations, but still we have to work on this, because any engineering or economic plan for a large structure we want to build, your the engineering economic life could be as much as 100 years. So we cannot sit back and relax actually. We know we have uncertainties, but we have to address the uncertainties. There are ways to address the uncertainties. This is weather and climate extremes. The global, you see the landscape of climate extremes, and on the top is the hot extremes. And most of the world regions are actually facing the hot extremes. But if you look at the bottom figure, and what you see that in the South Asian region, from 19 literature, we consider in the IPCC, and it shows an increase. But one important aspect of this figure is that you see there is a creation of contiguous regions, and including South Asia, Southeast Asia, and large part of Europe. And that signals something different from the area. And I always say that to my students that water has three types of problems. It's too much of water, too little water, and too dirty water. And this is drought. And drought is a slow moving process. It is not as frequent like floods. So what we see actually that if Africa is under prolonged drought, could be as much as actually 2 years, and it can't mean rapidly because the process is slow and you cannot see the damage actually right. But international media, which is especially the news media, actually loves very quick and heavy impact events because they can sell it to the audience. They are ready. And so, although in the drought, who are the main victims? The farmers. Yeah, those who are actually sitting at the fence line of extreme poverty. The small landholder and poor farmers. But as the process continues for a longer period of time, so their economic damages actually multiplies. And those who are pushed out of the fence, they are not easily actually moving up. Even the economic growth of the country returns to normalcy year after. Now, let's see, it's from some recent literature, the increasing extreme rainfall events. And you know IITM, the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology in Pune, and they have a set of data they released in their website. It is a 2020 deep point, and the data on actually precipitation data. And doing with some of our colleagues doing research on this data on actually looking at the characteristics of external distribution. But this particular study looked at the increasing trend of intensity, and they found actually it is clearly observed over Indian years. And ERE occurred almost in the entire year because it is no longer in a particular season. It is in all seasons it is occurring. And it is found to be dominant in July, followed by June and September. July is the peak month of monsoon. And very high area occurs almost in many locations. And if you look at the Nepal, that is the Indian story, but the Nepalese stories are a bit different. Extreme precipitation events serve the western mountainous region in Nepal. In Bangladesh cases, the risk of 100-year extreme rainfall event already increased in Bangladesh. And 100-year rainfall event, I come to that point little bit later. They are large rainfall events. And regional variation found in Pakistan's monsoon precipitation trend. Pakistan was not as vulnerable as to floods what we see since 2010. And last year's flood, they said that the economic loss was like $40 billion. Now, how climate change would actually increase the risk? Okay, this work was we have did during 1991 to 1995 and published in 1996 under the ever first project in Bangladesh on climate change conducted by Bangladesh Unnayan Parishad and Center for Environment in University of Waikato. And the book was published by Eminent Academicians. So what we did actually, we looked at plotted the precipitation. Then we looked at if we change by the mean precipitation only by 2%, and by 2030, how the risk would increase. The 1974 rainfall was probability was 0.0017, and its return period was 588. But with 12% increase in the mean rainfall, it actually becomes 48 years. So that is likely to occur more frequently. And those who were actually familiar with the 1974 flood, and that was one of the triggering points of framing of that year. But there are other factors associated with it. So only with an increase of 12%, our risk has increased by 12 times. That is the future. We are actually approaching a risky war. But we have to take some measures so that we can minimize our risk and we can maintain the well-being of the population of the world, and particularly in this part of the world in South Asia. So why climate change is important for engineering infrastructure? So much of the South Asian infrastructure are actually old, and they are designed with regenerator. But in many cases, we cannot actually retrofit this infrastructure, and we have challenges. And these infrastructure, when they would fail, actually they will cause your damages, and especially we have to compromise the public safety. And public safety impacts could be disruption of life, injury, loss of life, relocation. But we have, for future infrastructure, we know what to do. In the IPCC's fourth assessment report, I was a coordinating lead author for the adaptation chapter. We started looking at, is there any structure in the world those have already actually considered climate change in the engineering design? At the time, we found three. One was Qinghai, your railway line, that is 2,000 kilometer long railway line from Beijing to Lhasa, and built on the one of the highest elevation. And previously, the Andes Railway in Peru was built on the highest elevation, but this railway line China built on even above that elevation, and it faced many engineering challenges, including solving the problem over the permafrost region. But we have an example now from Bangladesh, our Parma Bridge. Our Parma Bridge considered several climatic parameters, including precipitation, temperature, sea level rise, and changing water level. And it included IPCC sea level rise, that is like 1 meter sea level rise by the end of this century. And based on the sea level rise in the coast, then it projected rising water levels at this site. And design discharge set at 151,000 cubic meter, and the highest discharge level of Padma, that is the combination of Ganges and Brahmaputra, 130,000 cubic meter per second, and design velocity specified at 5 meters per second, and engineering life considered 100 years. And I would say that it is actually a very good advancement of science in our own country. Now let's look at what would happen or what likely to happen in water resources. And monsoon in the Ganges Brahmaputra background, our lifeline for agriculture and lifeline for water resources and oil being of the people live in South Asia. So usually monsoon arrives on 1st of June in the Kerala coast. On the same day actually it reaches with 7 days of standard rain. In 1973, monsoon reached Kerala coast late actually by 18 days. So that impacted the economy of India significantly. And then gradually it moves towards the west. By the time it reaches Indian state of Rajasthan, the moisture content actually reduces significantly, and Rajasthan's annual precipitation is 330 millimeters or so. But the problem is, if monsoon is delayed due to climate change, or it is advances, because our agriculture, the cropping pattern is all completely actually over the thousands of years evolved around the arrival of rainfall. And you see in the village, the farmers actually, they can count when the first rain will arrive, and so that they can actually start their plant their crops. And then the precipitation turns into runoff and then into river discharge. And what you see here, the Brahmaputra basin is actually, it starts rising fast. It's rising fast from two reasons. First is the snow melt starts in the Brahmaputra basin earlier than Ganges. And so Brahmaputra starts rising in March. And also as Brahmaputra basin receives more precipitation than the Ganges and earlier than the Ganges. So you see the peak actually occurs earlier than the Ganges. But there is a problem. The problem is the synchronization of both peaks. All the water coming through your 1 million per kilometer of basin area and through Bangladesh. And if you put all the water coming through these two rivers, actually it will give a 10-meter height of water over our land. The synchronization occurred in the past, in 1988, and you remember there was a large flood in 1988, and also it synchronized in 1990. And in both cases, the synchronization occurred within 3 days. And I did some analysis with some data some time ago, and I found that actually there is a high probability of synchronization within 10 days. And within climate change, when our hydrological pattern will change, and this kind of synchronization could cause either earlier longer flood and last longer, or both. And during my PhD research, I found that actually most of the flood-prone areas in Bangladesh is vulnerable to flooding within 0 to 2 degrees Celsius. And then it is slow down because already flooded area, most of the areas already flooded, then it will slow down at higher temperature. So 2 degrees are for 1 year. And now the sensitivity of runoff, the case of the Ganges basin, and I used some data, it was long time ago, 1997, and I took some scenarios from the GIS's equilibrium model. And what I found, the key message is that the runoff in the drier basins would be more sensitive to change in climate than the runoff of the wetter basins. And the farmers and economy of the drier basins are very much critical their sustainability to climate change, and especially the farming community, and who are dependent on the on-time arrival of rainfall, adequate rainfall, and as well as on-time withdrawal of monsoon, because then they can start the preparation for the next crop. I plotted some that runoff change and versus runoff ratio, that is amount of ratio between the your precipitation minus your evapotranspiration and divided by total. Now in 2020, this from 2023, actually the paper is still in press by some our Indian colleagues. What they found actually, the precipitation is decreasing in the northern India and increasing in the southern part. And it is not a good news, as that in the north, the agriculture and other economic activities are planned as per the amount of precipitation. And in the south, if they receive more precipitation, and then the scenario will be different. What is existing? Nepal, and we have some friends from Nepal here. Particularly, the problem is the snow melt in the Himalayas. And Nepal and Bhutan, they are facing the problem of glacial lake outburst floods. We are actually thinking of what will be the future scenario. There are two important scenarios. One is, initially when glacial melt would be rate would be higher, then we would actually experience a higher volume of water in our rivers. But when the glacial mass will disappear, and then the real problem will start. But what we will do with the higher volume of water? And you know that in South Asia we have many water sharing between India and Nepal, India and Bangladesh, and with India. The Indus Water Treaty, or the Indus is the river which actually most of its water comes from the snow glacier. And in 2021 we organized one international conference, the June conference, and how the climate change issues will be dealt in the next Ganges water. And the existing treaty will expire in 3 years from now, and then we are expecting a new treaty. And Pakistan is also having a talk with India how to do this. And Nepal has a water sharing agreement with India. And so the infrastructure built on availability of water from those from small glacier melt could face some problem. So this is one scenario, normal snowfall and rainfall. And but this is another scenario that when the decreasing snow equals less snowfall and deficient rainfall. And this is the Koshi River barrage and the water canals, and the problem could face both India and Nepal from reduced water flow. Now, agriculture and food security. Food security is a very complex issue. Food availability does not, food production or availability does not ensure the food security. Globally, the number of undernourished people actually on the rise. COVID has, if you look at the figure, the fact at the tail end, and you see that the number is increasing. So you see that number was decreasing and now increasing. Global population is also. We don't want to see that. We want to see that actually absolute number is going down. And that is one of the key target of the SDGs, the hunger-free world. And hunger-free world, they are looking for around 7 years from now, 2030. But if you see this figure, are we going to have that much of success? Probably not. And most of these hungry people actually live in Asia. Out of 924, 489 actually live in Asia. And those are severely food insecure. But total food insecure people is 1151. That is, they are moderately food insecure. But the tragedy is that you see about 1 billion people go to sleep or they cannot sleep because it is difficult to sleep with a hungry stomach every night. And Amartya Sen says that the tragedy is not that we are having malnourished people or hungry people. The tragedy is that we think that it cannot be solved. South Asia, the food insecurity, this data I collected from one bank and another source. And then I looked at the trend line, and you see the trend is not linear, it's a non-linear. And this is not a good signal. And about, say, 15 to 20% of the people, they are food insecure. Okay, 15 to 20% may seem not a big number, but when you multiply with the population, then it becomes a big number. And as I said, that our cropping pattern actually would be disrupted. And this is now the cropping pattern of Bangladesh, and Eastern India has also similar kind of cropping pattern. But with rising water or late arrival of monsoon or earlier arrival of monsoon and late retreat of monsoon, our cropping pattern will be changed, and farmers may not be able to cope with, because every crop has a particular cropping, it needs particular number of days from plantation to maturity. For rice, it is 120 days. Yeah. And this from IPCC 2040 for the wheat. What you see here, that in both cases, low latitude or mid to high latitude, the wheat production will be reduced. Now rice. Okay, so it is the staple food for us. The rising temperature can significantly impact rice consumption. How does it do? Rice grows very well between 27 to 30. Yeah. And then at 35 degree temperature, the pollination is impacted. And then water scarcity or irregularity. Cultivation is affected by variability in rainfall. 60% of cropland in South Asia is rainfall. Sea level rise and salinity intrusion, and Mr. Rana has done some research on the salinity issues in the coastal area. And in our coastal area, salinity is becoming a larger problem. Because a smaller now is becoming a larger problem, and even actually salinity included further inland, then because there will be 20 years. Then pest and disease. Increased prevalence and distribution of pest and disease will affect rice. And so while pest and disease will be more prevalent, that will impact productivity, and that will impact the income of the farmers and as well as the supply of rice. And as I said, that food security is many dimensions. Hunger could take place when the availability of food in the market. So what is the problem? The problem is actually the buying capacity. As we are expecting more unemployment under future climate change, we are also expecting that the buying capacity of certain category of people will go down. And so that is one of the major problems we face in future. And declining crop yields means the global supply of food will be low. You may have the money, but you will not get the food in the world. We have very recently actually, we have not fought, okay, there is human nature, but we actually fought the things very good. Like in 2007, during the flood of 2007, when India, Thailand, and Vietnam stopped the export of rice. And so Bangladesh, with wallet full of money, moved from country to country to buy rice. But it was not readily available. Everybody would look after their interests first, then to export. Human health. Already, it is apparent that human health is impacted by changing climate. And it is not a problem of only developing countries, it is also a problem of developed countries. During the 2003 European heat waves, 35,000 people died. It was a huge number in the European country. Why did they die? And who died? They died, it was the month of July and August, it's a vacation period. Most of the elderly people left behind, the other family members are in vacation. And if you go to Northern Europe or even in the Western Europe, in the other parts of the world, you will see that there is a lack of actually air cooling facilities. I was once in Sweden and I was, it was very warm, but I asked the hotel how can I start my air cooler? And they said, sir, you are actually in Sweden, we don't have any cooling facilities in the hotels. And what happened later, that Europe is now more equipped with meet this kind of challenge, but we have to wait until another heat wave. But in our part of the world, the number of elderly people is increasing. Because our longevity increased, the number of elderly people increased. And it will be huge actually health challenge. And I give an example to my students that, okay, what does it mean by 2 degrees temperature? Okay, our body temperature is 36.5, global temperature, 98.4 in Fahrenheit. Okay. When it goes 38.5, the doctors officially declare it as fever. So then they start taking medication. But 39.5, someone has to be hospital. Yeah. So that is okay. That is 2 to 3 degrees. That what can do to us. But now you think that what 2 to 3 degrees increase of temperature do to the ecosystem. Okay, they cannot talk to us, but they have the life. They change, they collapse. But for whom? We intervene in the natural system, and we are trying to get as much as possible from the natural ecosystems for our comfort. And there is no, Mahatma Gandhi said that there is a limit of human needs, but there is no limit of human greed. Our greed is enormous. From the ocean to the mountains, everywhere we intervene significantly. But we have to stop. We have to put a break on this as soon as possible. Mitigation. We can say in South Asian region, okay, we don't emit as much as greenhouse gases. like the Western countries or oil-rich countries do. Oh, that's good. Then we can do it. But if you multiply by the population, it is still a huge number. And second, there is a significant relationship between human development and energy usage. And but how could we make a balance between the two? We need to use more energy for human development, but at the same time, we don't have the right to pollute the environment or contribute to global warming. So we have to find a route, and that route is the more uses of renewable energy. Now, as Mr. Rana said, the objective of this conference is having a South Asian research hub. Why do we need a research hub for South Asia? Because it will contribute one region. And one problem is not merely in Nepal, and we will felt the impact. Our river basins are contiguous. And our problems are also similar. A South Asian research hub which data for research as well as will share information for the good policymakers. And together we can do better. But individually, our progress will be slower. And if we could come under one umbrella, and that is possible actually, come under one umbrella and believe in free flow of information. And we have many talented people actually in this part of it. And we can do much better what we are doing. And that's the initiative we will begin actually from this rally from today. And we look forward to it. But Einstein said that the problem we feel at the level cannot be resolved at the same level. We have to go one level up. Mahatma Gandhi said that speed is irrelevant if you move in a wrong direction. Because you cannot reach that. Thank you so much.
Joining from India, from Aggartala, Tripura. As mentioned, I am faculty and right now heading the Department of Rural Studies from Tripura University, and also joining here as one of the organizers on behalf of Global Forum for Sustainable Rural Development. We are lucky that today we have dignitaries in the dais and number of participants joining online and offline. It's a very relevant issue and very important issue. The first South Asian Conference on climate change. And we are delighted that we are part of that. Global Forum for Sustainable Rural Development and its center, this Global Center for Environment and Climate Change. We are happy to be part of this great and important event. Today, every forum, every aspect, we are discussing on the issue of climate change. But today is something different, that this is the South Asian context, focusing mainly on that South Asian context. Global Forum for Sustainable Rural Development, if we can introduce, this is a forum registered as not for profit company in India, but it is a network of academicians, policymakers, and practitioners together. We are happy to inform you that this forum now has reached within 1.5 years. It has reached to more than 130 countries and more than 10,000 members from different countries. 172 organizations are collaborating with us in different activities, different events, universities, organizations, institutions, and others. We are working with 17. Right now, we are doing another. It's 18 global centers, which are headed by different eminent personalities in their concerned field. Like this center is now headed by Professor Om Patel from Bhopal. So similarly, several centers we have. These centers are headed by dignitaries from different countries. We have 6 continental offices. We have office in Nigeria, we have office in Brazil, we have office in London, being headquartered in West Bengal, in the very nearby Rabindranath Tagore place, Shantiniketan. But we have Asian head in Indonesia, Malab. So with this we are working with different aspects towards sustainable rural development. And when we talk about the sustainable rural development, we always work on priority on local issues, particularly localization of sustainable development goals. And why we advocate for sustainable rural development goals, if you see the climate change, the reason may be different, but ultimately the people in the rural area, they are worstly affected in terms of agriculture, in terms of livelihoods, in terms of habitat, in terms of food security. Even if you can find out the issues related to the people affected, women, children, and even the indigenous peoples also. So that's why the effect of climate change mostly in the rural areas. And that's why our forum always work on these global issues but address in the rural areas, how it can be. And why not? Particularly in South Asian countries, most of the South Asian countries, more than 50% of the population living in rural areas. And as a result, the issues related to sustainable development goal also, mainly in the rural, starting from poverty elimination, climate change is the cause and consequence of the poverty also. So SDG goal 1, and if you can find that 80% of the poverty world in the rural areas. Similarly, if you go to the SDG goal 2, the food, the hunger, zero hunger, then also the issues come to the rural areas. So as a result, our team, being a founder and also there we can see the Tapo Chakraborty is also co-founder. He is presently here in different forms. So all together we thought and we are working towards the sustainable rural development and putting the global issues in the local level also. In collaboration with various universities, institutions, or organizations. In Nepal, we have started action research program on organic farming, particularly zero poison farming with the government of Nepal. Like that, in Africa, Uganda, we are working on the bamboo-based livelihood and bamboo how we can approach towards reduction of climate change. It has a big role on carbon synchronization. So with this, as is the overall program, I wish on behalf of the society and entertainment, and with this the program will be highly successful. Lot of things will come. The best thing appear we are hopefully waiting for Dhaka declaration, which will be very important on the issue of climate change, particularly focusing on South Asia. And I am missing all of you. I supposed to be there, but we have another program tomorrow. And 36 to 38, India is organizing World Summit on life economy. You know that lifestyle for environment and how the climate change issues can be addressed to change of our lifestyle. So and its impact on the economy. So tomorrow we'll join there in Delhi. Lot of people from different countries they are coming. And so that's why I'm sorry that I could not join you physically. But as our team, particularly led by Abulda, is there, I'm sure that this program will be very, very meaningful. The conference will be highly successful. And above all, thanks to CPE, our another. I mean, day night, he and his team is working for this successful, for making this event very successful. And online from India, a lot of people will join in different capacity as a chair of discussion on behalf of the study. And hopefully, once again, we'll meet. And I will request all of you, if we are getting chance, very shortly, I will invite few of our delegates in Agartala, Tripura University. We are trying to make an event on localization of SDGs, and very soon we'll meet together. With this hope, once again, I wish you great success of this program. Thank you very much.
Actually detailing that what is the objective of our life. So today's terminology is the unfolding the emerging. We know about our children, a number of friends and faculty there who actually work for the mangrove. What happens to our Sundarban after the super cyclone I? We have 4 patches of forest, not mangrove. We have 4 patches of typical rainforest inside Sundarban. This is the imagination. We know the entire Sundarban as a mangrove, but if we go very close to the Sundarban, we will find that 4 area is no more Sundarban. 4 area. So those are the imagination that's happening due to that. So that's why from South Asia we need to know what is. We discuss many things. People is there is working for evolution. Okay, this is known, but many things those are emerging, and in future they will make it happen. So from South Asia, we need a cooperation of knowledge, cooperation of innovation, cooperation in even voice, people to people cooperation, researcher to researcher cooperation. And mostly over in the Bengal, the Bengal both part in India and in Bangladesh. We are familiar with the Satyajit Ray's film, Asami Shankar. So here, there was sentence by the hero to someone on a framing that in Bangla, the dialogue was in Bangla, Shorno to khawa jay na. We can take both, we need rice. So this is the future. So we need to consider, or we need to think about the emerging issues and how we can solve the issues that will come in the future. Thanks a lot to the organizers, the logos of organizers you can see in our project. I'm grateful to all of them, and thanks again to Chair and Professor. Thank you.
So good morning to all, and thank you for having me here. So I don't like to go all these scientific discussion because I'm not that person. I'm coming from purely social science background, and I would like to highlight like what being discussed here, like the vulnerabilities and the future risk and all these things. So I would like to bring the more on justice perspective in the discussion in terms of intersectional lens. So when Sir was discussing about what will happen in our future, actually started happening. So, taking the example of Amphan, the COVID was, we are in the lockdown mode and then the Amphan happened. And that time we did one gender analysis in the Amphan affected area. And surprisingly, we have seen that the unpaid care work burden of the women of those areas has increased significantly. And that happened because of the cyclone and then the vulnerabilities have increased, loss and the things has damaged, their livelihood damaged, and then their care work responsibilities has increased. So that's one part. So in terms of like when we're talking about the loss and damage, we are mostly talking about the economic aspect of it, like how much money has been lost, how many houses destroyed, and all these things. So that's kind of a very familiar discussion and popular discussion. So I'd like to bring the attention of the non-economic aspect of it. Like this, as I said, this the big care work burden has increased significantly, and that's care work burden mostly bear by the women. So that's also an aspect of non-economic loss because of the climate change, because of the disaster. There are other aspects of it, like this, the increased gender-based violence, particularly violence against women and girls. And today is the first day of 16 days of activism to combat violence against women, and then also here, coincidentally, we are also talking about the violence against women because of the climate change, because of the disasters happening, and that actually increases. And that is also a form of non-economic loss because of climate change. And we never ever think about the relationships and networks. Like people living in the community, they are actually interconnected because we are so collective in nature, in our community setup. So when there is a disaster happens, so when the climatic shocks are happening, that community bonding is actually getting disrupted. So disrupted it is actually. So the network, the connection is disrupted. It's in a way the capabilities of the community is losing. That's also a form of a loss in the community that actually making them more vulnerable. Confidence of the community is breaking down. That's also a form of loss. Indigenous knowledges are losing. So those are the forms of loss. And when we're talking about the loss and damage discussions, like at the global level, like this call we are expecting like the fund will be created or something. But have we ever think about all these non-economic losses? So from that perspective, like I would like to bring attention of the researchers over here, like to invest your knowledge, to invest your resources, to dig out, to identify all those areas and also to bring the voices of the community to the global level. So also it's like in terms of the loss in levels, as I said, the non-economic loss, also it is not actually proportionate to all. Like in terms of men and women, even within the women, even within the men also. It's like it's not proportionate to all. The loss as a woman, my loss, or as a woman living who is in Gabura Shakira, her loss is not the same. Even within the Gabura Shakira, the two women's loss might not be the same. Munda community's loss or the women as a sex worker, her loss, or women is the mainstream community, her loss is not the same. So we need to think through all those intersectional differences, identities, and even in terms of their loss and damages, and need to bring those voices into the discussion. That's so important. And also overall, this investing communities, resilience communities, leadership, particularly women's leadership, is so important. So thank you. This. All the organizers for having, opening this discussion and then setting up this research hub. And I'd like to thank all of you for this, and then expecting that the research hub will have those non-economic social aspects along with the scientific part. They'll research more on all these areas and bring these aspects of climate changes. We gather the knowledges and then bring those aspects in the national and the international level, because these are so important of human life. Thank you so much.
At first, I'd like to give special thanks to CPE to arrange such kind of umbrella for the future cutting edge research on climate change. Actually, if we want to do a comprehensive research on climate change, we need this kind of platform for the future well-being of our society. And from our keynote speaker, we came to know the ultimate effects of climate change. And I am actually working on the effects of climate change, specifically on agricultural crops and the soil. As we know that more than three times carbon stored in soil than air. So if the temperature increases, then what will be happening if this carbon comes in the atmosphere? We always concern about the industrial emission of carbon, but we don't know about what will happen if the soil carbon leak into the atmosphere. Because due to if the temperature increase, the soil respiration also increase. So if the soil respiration increase, it will release more carbon in the atmosphere. And we know also that after 2100 at the age of 2100, 4.5 degrees centigrade temperature will increase. So if you think about our agriculture, at this high temperature, what kind of crops will be survived? Especially the coastal agriculture will drastically change. And in our keynote speech, we came to know that extreme events will also increase. We know that whenever the extreme event happens, there is a high precipitation will occur. If the high precipitation occurs, the flood will happen. But there will be the less infiltration of water. So the groundwater scarcity will be happening. So ultimately, the climate change effects will affect every sector in our environment. So we have to do a comprehensive research. We have to do various numbers of research in this field. In every year now we can see in Chittagong city, every year the floods happen and the water level increasing. We always blame our city mayor, but he cannot solve this problem. Because due to the increase of the sea level rise, water cannot stretch to the sea. So whenever the high precipitation, water level increase, and every year the floods occurring in the Chittagong city. All the things, if there is another concern is especially CE now working especially focused on the salary inclusion, and I am now also working on this topic. We know we can imagine what will be happening in coming future because so there is some important and some important elements in our soil. So whenever salinity diffusion occur, what will be happening in our groundwater and surface water we will know. Because due to the salinity, if the elements that soil catch in their area, if the soil release these elements in our surface water and groundwater, what will be happening? So we have to do research on this area, and thanks again CPE to arrange such kind of fantastic conference, South Asian conference on the emerging issues, and thanks the others co-organizers. Thank you very much.
And yes, this is a very good window and a platform for all of us for the unfolding the emerging issues related with the climate change. Already my earlier speakers and scientists already mentioned that our Southeast Asia is very much are prone to natural disasters due to the climate change, extreme climatic events. And our country, Bangladesh, is a global south hotspot. All we do know it. And recently, I completed my doctoral research from Japan, and it was actually based on extreme climatic events has made a huge damage and losses on our coastal regions, especially on the agricultural lands. And we have found that last 46 years, the extreme climatic events such as cyclones, floods, and huge extreme damages, and also loss in our agricultural production. So it's a very much threatful for our food security issues in our coastal regions. So all type of major land use patterns are vulnerable to the extreme climate issues. So we could start a good research hub, and I am also happy that yeah, we could utilize appropriate science and technologies from among each other to learn and share our knowledges and continue for the future. So we could imagine our future and make a global perspective from international scenery based on international collaborations. So I'm thankful to all.
Climate change is a one of the vibrant word. But what does it mean? I'm not going to start the definition. But the thing is that climate change primarily concerned with two things. One is the climate science and the management of issues related to climate change. In Bangladesh, actually, the discussion of climate change started with from policy management guidelines as more or less social science or planning science. Later on, we focused on the scientific issues of climate change. Same also true for, I think, the global context. Now the scientists are more concerned about the science of climate change. But after 35 years of its journey, today's theme of the conference is unfolding emerging issues. What remains left? Everything is unfold. So to me, it seems that there is still something remain that has to be unfolded. And you are here to find out that unfold issues. The keynote speaker has mentioned some of the things. He has mentioned how extreme events and climate change are linked. How potential threat of globes, the globe glacial lake outburst. It is a serious potential threat for lower riparian country, particularly Bangladesh. All ice in all glacier created lakes are in Nepal or in the highlands. If these are broken, rust, what will happen to us in the downstream? It will be a catastrophic flood. And how it is linked with climate change. Same also the frequent synchronization of flood events. That very frequently the flood of the three rivers are synchronizing each other, and the return period is very short now. And also the social or human or economic science, how they are linked with food security, health, and others. But what is the challenge? Still the challenge remains. These are the events, these are the process. There is climate change and as well as non-climatic factors are linked. And one of the major challenges for the scientists is to isolate the individual contribution. Agriculture, food insecurity. It is true. It is a climatic phenomenon as well as a governance phenomenon. If the governance fails, if there is a good governance, despite having adequate, reserve in your reserve food, you will be suffering, you will be hungering. So it is a governance issue as well. Same also true for salinity intrusion. I know Rana and his team is working hard in the salinity intrusion in coastal area. Regarding the coastal area, there are some engineering or environmental scientists here, including Dr. Mirza, I should say, still the gap remains, and have we ever defined the coastal area? Is the coastal area yet defined? I should say no. The definition given by the government, that is the ICZ, and it is a political definition. Climate, coast cannot be political. It cannot be district upazila. It is a hydrological unit. So who will define that? It is a challenge. It could be the starting of the Bangladeshi scientists working on climate change. Let us define or redefine the coast. I'm happy to say that, including my students over there, we are in a project to redefine or define the coastal belt of Bangladesh. Considering the hydrological parameter, we are going to give you the answer. What does the coastal area of Bangladesh mean? As I said, possibly the outcome of this seminar or international seminar is to form a hub of South Asian scientists. So I'm just raising some point so that can help you to develop this hub. To try to resolve the debate of uncertainties in South Asian countries. If you can solve this debate, more and more you can solve this debate with scientific evidence, you can face the challenges successfully. One of the area of investigation of this hub could be the equitable and frequent sharing of the data, because it's a co-referent country, all nations has to share their data, climate data. For example, if you see among the all continents, Asia is the most vulnerable, most disaster-prone continent. Nearly all the hazards are here. In the Asia, South Asia is the most, hazardous region, and within South Asia, Bangladesh is the most hazardous country. So if you go to the hierarchy, how can you cope? How can you mitigate? How can you adapt your hazard, your climate hydrometeorological hazard, without getting support from the neighboring country and vice versa? That is why sharing of data is an important area where the South Asian climate scientists can look into. Particularly, where nearly at the end of our Ganges water sharing treaty, we are going to address them. Again, we must go to address that. We reconsider the climate change issue. In that case, we must share our data. Loss and damage, it is an important issue, The world has convinced to consider these issues into their climate dialogue. Who is the pioneer in this dialogue, in this pathway, in this journey? It is Bangladesh, and it is our late, Salimul Haq. That is another area where the people of South Asian countries, scientists of South Asian countries, can come together, assess together the level of loss and damages of South Asian countries in association with this climate change. I understand at the end of this conference, workshop, whatever I said, you will be going to declare as first Dhaka declaration, I suppose. And I suppose this declaration will come forward with a very precise goal, objectives, and mission and vision. And in that journey, if you think from anywhere, in any point, I can be a part of you, I can help you.